Marauders number 16 reveals the long-awaited revenge of Kate Pryde on Sebastian Shaw after Shaw had her murdered, potentially without possibility of resurrection, earlier in Marauders. Initially pitched as the pirate comic of the new X-Line, Marauders has consistently also offered the most quiet council political intrigue, maintaining that thread here with four seat holders, Kate, Emma, Storm, and Sebastian Shaw, taking an active role in shaping Krakoa's power dynamics. Today I'll answer: how do Emma Frost and Kate Pryde get revenge on the Black King, Sebastian? What does this mean for Krakoa's Quiet Council moving forward? And of course, theories and predictions for what's to come in the world of X-Men and this new era of the Reign of X. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You are listening to Krakin Krakoa number 131. If you like the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel or Krakin Krakoa, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing or commenting here with your thoughts on the issues and theories for future comics. It all helps me out a great deal. Spoilers for discussed comics will follow. The issue begins with Kate and Emma, of course, plotting their revenge. They're plotting Shaw's demise, which they've been doing since before 10 of Swords, where the Mega X-Men event, derailed basically everything that was going on Krakoa as they had to plan for the tournament with Arakko. Now, as a refresher, it's not just that Sebastian Shaw killed Kate Pryde previously, it's that he did so thinking there might be no chance of her resurrection. Like Kate Pryde from issue number 1 in Marauders was not able to use the Krakoan gates, and Shaw theorized that meant she would also not be able to be resurrected as part of the island nation. Now, Emma Frost essentially wound up proving this wrong after I think it was 16 or 17 efforts on the part of Professor X and the Five to bring Kate back. There were challenges that Krakoa had not faced before, but Shaw was ultimately proven wrong. His theory was undone, kind of leaving his only hope here that, Kate technically wouldn't remember what happened to her, but the variable he didn't account for was he tried to kill Lockheed, who survived, with memory of the event. And that's where Emma gets the memories of Shaw's action and his duplicitous nature, which of course comes as no surprise. So Kate and Emma, they raid Sebastian Shaw's home in Hellfire Bay on Krakoa, roughing him up. Emma shoots him with contraband technology to remove his powers, okay? And meanwhile, Kate is just running rampant, destroying everything in his home, So she's destroying his highly, highly valued whiskey collection, which Kate takes delight in sucking down and destroying. It's a really pitiful Sebastian Shaw here as well, which is certainly Emma and Kate's intent, I think. It reminded me a lot of when Cassandra Nova reduces Wolverine to a dainty, proper Canadian child in Astonishing X-Men in the Joss Whedon and John Cassaday run. If you remember those, I think even visually, Stefano Caselli's art here, it kind of has that look for Shaw himself. This also feels a lot like what I expected from Kate and Emma, if I'm being honest, and including Storm and Lockheed in the revenge process. Simply killing Shaw is an insufficient form of revenge in the Krakoa era, but humiliating him in his own home, that is lasting, right? That will stand. Sebastian's self-defense is destined to fail, but he does accidentally kind of make a fun fan community point, which is that if not for Shaw's actions, wild theories about Kate Pryde not actually being a mutant would still hold some water. So that's, Shaw kind of takes the hey, I'm just like Apocalypse, right? I'm doing the Crucible basically by proving that Kitty is a mutant, because we didn't know for sure. She couldn't access the Krakoan gateways, so, I had to kill her because that would prove, if she could be resurrected, that she was officially one of us. And this is obviously coming from Sebastian. It's total BS, right? He did this for power and greed and wealth and nothing else. I mean, I don't think he might be of the original 12 Quiet Council seats the one who cares the least about the future of mutant kind. I mean, I think just based on historical actions, working with the government and Project Wide Awake and Sentinels and things like that, which has always come back to bite him. But here he makes that case, and it is kind of interesting, at least again from that fan community perspective, because now we do essentially have confirmation that this is Kate Pryde and that she is a mutant in a way that maybe we didn't previously. There could still be theories about what was going on with her. So Lockheed comes in for his revenge on Sebastian after he's been roughed up already by him and Kate. He literally tears out Sebastian's eye with his jaws and spits it into the fire. Emma threatens Sebastian here with exile. right? Like Sabretooth style in the pits of Krakoa, or keeping the affair private and settled between Hellfire. Now, like a chicken with its head cut off, Sebastian Shaw will accept neither outcome and actually jumps out a window, only to be calmly retrieved by Kate for further punishment. I actually thought Sebastian was trying to off himself here and get put into resurrection protocols, although he doesn't seem to have come very close. It is not that tall of a house. I'll admit at this point, I kind of thought they were done too, like Emma and Kate, with the torture and the humiliation, and that they'd maim and control him with the threat of exile alone if his actions were revealed, but no, there is more. They then poison him with Verendi poison, and they mention here, Storm in particular mentions that if put in resurrection, that Shaw will stay there for basically as long as possible, which is interesting to me. It kind of felt like a half-idle threat, like the fact that Storm says it makes it feel real and consequential, but Shaw is on the Quiet Council, which would put him into resurrection protocols, sooner than just about anybody. We saw with Apocalypse in the pages of Excalibur, he does die in that first arc, and he's brought back like immediately. So that would take some doing, but it's neither here nor there. Shaw is left still living basically within a physical prison. It's kind of like Sabretooth's exile, but a waking shell of himself wheeled around, literally in a wheelchair, by Kate and Emma and Storm. I mean, it's interesting to me to consider too, like whether Shaw would have actually gotten Sabretooth exile or not. I've talked about this on previous Marauders videos, but there's this interesting gap in knowledge regarding crime on Krakoa. The island has 3 laws: don't kill humans, respect the land, and make more mutants. And assassinating another mutant in a political power grab isn't explicitly in violation of any of those. Certainly you could interpret the actions as worthy of punishment, but with the exception of Sabretooth's exile per his explicit violation of these laws, the only punishment we've seen is in regards to the Hellions, who are put on Sinister's Suicide Squad as a form of Krakoan community service. So I'd kind of expect that as a more likely outcome for Shaw. I mean, if you think about like Grey Crow, for example, killed a bunch of Morlocks, and Callisto leading them. I mean, I guess they attacked him first, but regardless, killed a bunch of mutants on Krakoa. He's a part of the Hellions. He has not been exiled like Sabretooth, right? So that's kind of what I would have expected for Shaw once his actions are revealed to the council, but perhaps betrayal on this level and of one of their own, of one of the council members, leads to a more severe outcome. Like the fact that, I don't know, like him being exiled a la Sabretooth does not feel like any sort of certainty to me, but certainly Emma, Kate, and Storm, like that's 3 votes already on the council, and that carries some weight. So speaking of the Quiet Council, the very end of this issue concludes with Shaw wheeled before the Quiet Council in his new eye-patched state, clearly having gone through some stuff. Emma, I'm wondering here, so like we get this interesting moment where the council votes on if they want to know what happened to Shaw, okay? And basically the vote is split right down the middle, with everyone who participated, including Shaw, voting no. So, and there's an interesting thing here where Shaw's speech bubbles, if you notice, like there's a snaky tail to the way they're coming out of his mouth and a devilish smile on the character. Now, I read this as Emma Frost sort of Weekend at Bernie's-ing Sebastian, right? Like he's I think probably alive, but being clearly manipulated into some form. I don't totally know why he would say these things in the way he's saying them. Fear not, in any state I remain Krakoa's humble servant, unless he's deliberately being like, hey, I still got plans. Like, if this is just Sebastian, no control, he's like, all right, they have made it impasse, they won this round, but I'm smiling because I still have plans. That's a possibility, and I'll dig into that in a second. The other possibility is Emma's just controlling what he's saying, and Kate, Emma, and Storm are all kind of in on this, where basically they now have Sebastian as like a literal puppet, and again, like this prisoner in his own body, which feels like the kind of revenge I expected from them. Again, like killing him is not really a very effective out in the Krakoan era, because he will fill into resurrection protocols, even if it's delayed. Like ultimately he'll come back and make another power play on Krakoa. That's just what he does. But if you trap him like this, where you're just like, we're going to keep you around, you're going to know everything that's happening, and we're just going to use you for our purposes and none of your own, that to me feels like the exact sort of thing that this character would despise the most. And again, like that's what Kate and Emma, I think, are looking for. Now, I do want to call out too, though, that like, remember, Shaw does have plans and allies. We've seen him working with Shinobi Shaw, his son, and Fenris, the worst mutants, the worst people on Krakoa. And presumably he and they had schemes for those 2 open council seats. So I don't think this affair is over just yet. Again, Shaw's allies, Shinobi, Fenris, whoever else might be involved here. Like, there's a plot unfurling in Marauders that we haven't touched. first in some time. We have not seen this crew together for a while, but they're still out there. So don't think that just because Sebastian is off the table that Emma and Kate are totally running free with everything and anything they want to do regarding the Hellfire Bay and sort of that arm of Krakoa. So thanks everybody for listening. The Krakoan for the next issue reads What's Coming, which is very mysterious, but otherwise I will be back here on Krakin Krakoa here shortly with a review of Sword number 1, the other X comic that debuts today. Very, very exciting launch. You can find all X-Men reviews and theory videos coming up on the Krakin Krakoa and the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment here to get all that stuff coming your way in the future. Thanks in particular to everybody who supports Comic Book Herald work on patreon.com/Comic Book Herald. I'd like to thank Ron Paul Kirkley, Jesse W., Professor Pryde, Cole Weathers, Martin Lopez, Chris Isidro, Brent Bowser, Professor X3769, and PD Appleseed, my mysterious benefactors. I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com, at Comic Book Herald, pretty much anywhere online. Look for Best Comics Ever and My Marvelous Year podcast for more from me. So thanks everybody for listening, and as always, enjoy the comics.